Good morning, first graders. Happy Tuesday. Today we're going to read our morning message, we'll go over our calendar activities, and then we're going to read a story that is kind of a book that has a lot of different poems in them. So let's get started today. I hope that you were able to get your new bag of materials and all your school supplies yesterday at pickup. If you didn't, please let me know so that we can arrange a time for you to get those items, okay? Inside you should have some crayons, some pencils, glue sticks, scissors, your notebook, your folder, all the things that were in your seat sack or mailbox, and maybe even some things from your other teachers like art or lunch. All right, let's get started. Good morning, first graders. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. Today you will listen to a few poems and find connections. Have a terrific Tuesday. Love, Mrs. Rochat. Let's go over here. Yesterday was Monday. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow will be Wednesday. The weatherman on the news said that it's going to be a cloudy and rainy day today. So a perfect day to sit inside and read some stories or work on any of the activities in your matrix. A penny is one, a nickel is 5, a dime is 10, and a quarter's 25. Okay, boys and girls, I want you to look at my board right here. Today we're talking about connections. We've talked about connections before, and we kind of use this symbol with our hands because this shows how our fingers are connected. A chain is connected. And we can make connections as readers. We can connect in 3 different ways. We can read something and have a connection to ourselves. Maybe it reminds you of something you've done in your life, and you are able to relate to the story or the poem or the information. Another way to connect is to text. You might read something and it reminds your brain of something you've already read before. That's taking a book and connecting to another book or another story. The other way that you can connect to a story is to the world. So you might read something like a nonfiction book and it reminds you of something that you've seen in the world, or maybe it reminds you of something that everybody in the world does. So those 3 ways is how you connect to a book or a piece of information that you read, whether that's connecting to yourself, connecting to another story or something you've read, or connecting to the world and how what you read applies to the whole world. So we're going to read a story called Morning, Noon, and Night, and we're going to learn about how to make connections. So let's get started. Morning, Noon, and Night. Poems to Fill Your Day, selected by Sharon Taberski and illustrated by Nancy Doniger. So you can see that there are boys and girls on the front cover, and they're doing lots of different things. Can you make any connections already? Have you played out in the sun? Have you seen the moon at night? Those are connections that you can make. You can see that these boys and girls are kind of jumping around the title page, and maybe that's something you know how to do, so you can connect to that. So we're going to read a couple of these poems. Now, if you look at the contents page, remember we learned a contents page is a feature that helps us know where to find it. And this part right here, if you notice, I'll get a little closer, those parts are a different color. Those are subheadings that tell us what these poems might be about. So this one says waking up, on the way to school, during the school day, after school, and going to bed. It's kind of like the order of your day. Those are probably things that you do. You probably wake up, and if it was a school day, you go on your way to school. Then during the school day, you're at school, or you're doing school at home. Then after school, you might do certain activities, and then you go to bed and you might do certain activities. So we're going to read a poem from each spot. As you can see, there are lots of poems in this book, and I wish we could read them all, but we just don't have time. So I'm going to read Waking Up, called Mornings. So it's telling me in the contents page that I need to go to page 7. So I'm going to skip over to page 7. So you can see in the pictures, maybe you're making already connections to your life. School mornings and morning. On school days, he gets up first. The lamp glares. The floor groans. The faucet spits. The hangers in our closet clang. When my bed shakes, I know he is tying his shoe. Time to get up. Do any of those things happen to you when you're trying to get up for a school day? Morning. Everyone is tight asleep. I think I'll sing a tune. And if I sing it loud enough, I'll wake up someone soon. Do you ever have to wake someone up, or does somebody ever have to wake you up? If you're thinking about that, you're probably making some really good connections to these poems. Okay? So remember, poems sometimes rhyme and sometimes they don't. And if you were listening to the story, I'm sure you found some words that rhyme, like tune and soon. When you say those words, they rhyme. Okay, so you made a connection to waking up. Now think about a book maybe you've read before where characters in the story had to wake up. You could make a text-to-text connection. Or maybe you can think about the world and how everyone around the world has to wake up every day. So you can make connections to yourself. Maybe that's what happens to you in the morning. Or you can make connections to another book, maybe characters that have woken up. Or to the world and how you know everybody in the world wakes up. So now we're going to go back to our contents page and we're going to find the poem Shadows, which is on page 9. It's this page with the bus. And if you see a person standing here, do you see his shadow? I bet you're already making connections to self because we each have a shadow and maybe you've seen yours. Let's read the story and see if we can make some more connections. Shadows. Chunks of night melt. In the morning sun, one lonely one grows legs and follows me to school. How many of you have ever walked and seen your shadow and it feels like they're following behind you? Or when you're standing there, you can see the shadow beside you. I bet you've made connections to that. Let's go back to the contents page. Now we're going to go to during the school day and we're going to find the poem called My Book. It's on page 12. I know that you are probably already making some really good connections to this story because each of you have books at home or you've read books in school. With me, you've read books. And I'm sure you've already been able to tell books that are the same and how they connect to each other and how everybody can learn to read a book. So let me read this poem to you. Maybe it'll give you more connections. My book. I did it! I did it! Come and look at what I've done. I read a book. When someone wrote it long ago for me to read, how did he know that this was the book I'd take from the shelf and lie on the floor and read by myself? I made a connection. A connection to me. Did we ever sit on the floor or sit in and take a book off the shelf and read by ourselves? What did we call that at our school? Read to self. Very good. I really read it just like that. Word by word from first to last. I'm sleeping with this book in bed. This first book I've ever read. Are you making a connection right now? Maybe a connection to a text, the first book you ever read by yourself? I remember the first book I ever read in first grade. It was a book by Dr. Seuss called Are You My Mother? And it was about a bird, right, trying to find his mom. And that poem kind of reminded me of that. So I made a text-to-text connection. So let's go to after school. We're going to go to the poem called shoelaces, and that's on page 25. Lots of pages in this book. Shoelaces. Although I've tried and tried and tried, I cannot keep my laces tied. I really don't know what to do unless I stick them tied with glue. Except that such a sticky mess would not be good for shoes, I guess. I know that a lot of you this year have been practicing tying your shoelaces all on your own. And you can kind of see that this boy is practicing, making sure that he can tie his laces without any glue. Again, you can make connections. Going to bed. Okay, this is something we all do every night. So I'm going to go and find the poem called Night, Night. And if you look closely, boys and girls, night, this night, is spelled like going to bed. And this night is like a Nevlin night, a person in armor. So that page is 31. So let's go there. It's like Nevlin nights, boys and girls. How cool is that? And they're in their pajamas getting ready for bed. Night, night, said one knight to the other knight. The other knight, night, night, night. Wow, they use a lot of that word night. I can make a connection to the world and that there are nights that are the same everywhere. And I don't mean knights like Nevlin knights or people that dress in armor. You can make connections to the nighttime, like seeing stars and the moon out around the world. That happens everywhere. Everybody at night, when it gets dark outside, you might see some stars and moon, and that happens all around the world. So this is a text to the world connection. I hope that you were able to learn some really awesome things about morning, noon, and night poems and be able to make those connections to yourself, to a story, and to the whole world. Boys and girls, I hope you have a lovely, lovely day. I'll see you again tomorrow where we're practicing some more math with clocks. Have a great day. Bye, boys and girls. Miss you.